As.A.W. warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome for the second day. So that's my second video. If you're the first time listening to this, what I usually do is I think of a question and then I open Quran and I find my answer in that in those verses. So again, I am not a scholar. I am not a person who has authority to interpret Quran or do anything. It's just me, my personal way of how I wanted to find my answer in the Quran and how it's going to help me. So it's just say an average person trying to benefit from the Quran. So that's who I am and that's how I usually do it. So again, I have my journal. What I do is I actually write my question and then I also write the ayah. So I'm going to show you what I have for today. And this is, as you can see, is pretty old. It's from March 2018, but I hope it's somehow relevant. Also, I want to show you the ayah that I'm going to be discussing. So the question that I have, so without any further ado, I just wanted to jump into the question because I wanted to make these videos a bit shorter. So the question is, Ya Rab, how do we show humility and efficiency in the work that we do? How do we remove reyah, or I would say hypocrisy, from our lives when all around is that which take us away from you, right? So whatever, there's so many things happening, I would say around us, or maybe the environment or the people that we have around us is actually taking away us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the right things that we have to do. So then the question is, Ya Rab, how we can live a life that's only for you? So having humility, avoiding hypocrisy, and living a life that's only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Quranic verse that was relevant to me at that time is Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So once again, my tajweed is not good. I am working on it and hopefully I become better at it. But here it is. I will try my best to do it right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَإِذْ رَأَكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِن يَتَّخِذُونَكَ إِلَّا هُزُوًا أَهَذَا الَّذِي يَذْكُرُ آلِهَتَكُمْ وَهُمْ بِذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ. وَإِذْ رَأَكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. So when those who disbelieve, they see you, إِن يَتَّخِذُونَكَ, they take you إِلَّا هُزُوًا, but as a ridicule. So they don't listen to you. أَهَذَا الَّذِي يَذْكُرُ آلِهَتَكُمْ. Is this, so the disbelievers say, is this the person who talk about your gods? وَهُمْ بِذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ. But those disbelievers are actually, I would say, they are oblivious to the remembrance of the Rahman. So, or hum kafirun, or they disbelieve, right? So, وَهُمْ and then بِذِكْرِ Rahman, the remembrance of Allah, hum kafirun, they are disbelievers. So that's something that doesn't value anything to them, right? So the question is having humility, avoiding hypocrisy, and getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How this ayah is actually relevant to it, right? So those are my notes. Here the answer to removing riyah or hypocrisy from your life is to always be in the zikr or remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we are in constant remembrance, we acknowledge the presence of our Creator around us. Then we don't even need to pretend anything. So that's such a beautiful thing, right? So to have humility into avoid hypocrisy, right? So you stay in constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You think of His beauty, you think of His majesty, you think of everything beautiful that He has created. So if you're in the presence of such a magnificent beauty, then you don't even need to pretend anything, right? So you are already in that crucible of, I would say, magnificence or beauty or whatever you wanted to name it, right? So that riyah or hypocrisy thing just melts away, right? Because it's not relevant and it doesn't exist, right? So and then I say pretension or hypocrisy or riyah, it comes into play when you lack something and hence you don't want to show it otherwise, right? So when you are in the presence of the majesty of your Rabb, you come into a state of abundance, and hence you don't need anything to desire for, because we have all that we need. So here's the thing. So you have that abundance, you have that beauty, you have that everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give you. Then it's just common sense. What's the need to pretend, right? So there's no need to pretend. There is no need to be hypocrite in anything that you do. So hypocrisy can be in so many different ways, in so many different things that you do. But then I would say I would take the light form of it, which is pretension. So you just wanted to show something that you're actually not. So let's just go with that, right? And then it says, if you face riyah, then it is a good indication that you're actually in ghafla, right? So in the second part of the ayah, which is وَهُمْ بِذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ, and they are with the remembrance of God oblivious, or they're kind of disbelieve in that, right? So so for you to kind of give yourself a reality check, if you're going through pretension, it means you are not in constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's nothing something that you would blame yourself for it, or you blame other people for it. It's just, I would say, the certain I would say situation or certain periods in our time that we do go through such stuff, right? But if you're aware of it, if you have that self-awareness, then it really doesn't matter. You are self-aware of it, and now you wanted to take some actions to make sure that that thing doesn't happen. And the best thing, my friends, to start with is to do remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can be in the bus, you can be in the subway, you can be walking toward your work, or you'll be walking back from work to home, or anything. You're in constant, I would say, talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will be talking, you will be discussing it. You can simply discuss your entire day with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while coming back from work. It doesn't hurt. And then I usually do that, and I get quite some good answers to my questions as well, right? Okay, and then there is also I would say so that was ayah ayah, I would say Surah 21 ayat 37, 36 actually. And then the second part I also wanted to slightly discuss is وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ أَجَلٍ سَأُرِيكُمْ آيَاتِي فَلَا تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ, right? So the human being have been created from haste, right? So from haste, then I'm going to show you my verses, then you do not haste. So again, my Arabic is also not good, but I do my best. So the basic thing is I would say the thing that I'm going to be getting from this verse is that we human beings, even the word insan means someone who forget, right? So if you're a person who forget, like if that's in our nature, so we haste, we forget, then if you understand and accept that, the next step very much is you have to be in an active state of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's going to help you. So once again, just summarizing, the question was to have humility, to avoid pretension and hypocrisy, and to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best thing is to be in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's something you can small, like really I would say on smaller levels, is just talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Start from there, and then add just a little bit of, I would say, zikr after your salah. You can also do that. That's something I wanted to leave you with it. And once again, my videos are something as I would talk to a friend. I don't edit them, I don't prepare much for it other than maybe like 5 minutes or something like that before I do my video. I really hope it's somehow helpful. If it is, just make sure to share this idea or this thing that you learned from it to someone else or with someone else. Have a lovely day. Assalamu alaikum, and take good care of yourself. Bye bye.